There are more than 40,000 McDonald's restaurants around the world. You can find one in Tokyo, New York, Dubai, London, almost everywhere on Earth. Most people think McDonald's became the world's biggest fast food chain because it makes great burgers. That's not what made McDonald's an empire. In fact, McDonald's isn't really in the burger business. To understand why, you have to start decades before the company most people recognize even existed. In 1948, two brothers named Richard and Maurice McDonald ran a barbecue restaurant. It was in San Bernardino, California. Business was decent but slow. It was heavily dependent on car hops and wait staff, so the brothers made a genuinely radical decision. They shut the entire restaurant down for 3 months, not to fix a small problem, to rebuild the whole thing from scratch. When they reopened, almost everything had changed. They cut their menu down dramatically to just a handful of items: hamburgers, cheeseburgers, fries, milkshakes, and little else. They eliminated car hops entirely. They switched to a self-service walk-up counter instead. Paper plates and plastic utensils replaced traditional dishware. That cut cleanup time to almost nothing. Most importantly, they redesigned the kitchen itself. They borrowed directly from an idea that had nothing to do with food: Henry Ford's automobile assembly line. They called it the Speedee Service System. Each of the 12 kitchen staff specialized in one specific task, and nothing else. One person only grilled patties. Another only added toppings. Another only wrapped the finished burger. Much of the food was pre-assembled, ready to go the moment an order came in. The result was almost unbelievable for its time. Order fulfillment time dropped from around 30 minutes to roughly 30 seconds. 30 minutes was standard for a restaurant back then. Richard McDonald later summarized the entire philosophy simply: their whole concept was built on speed, lower prices, and volume. This system became the actual foundation of the modern fast food restaurant. It's the blueprint nearly every chain on Earth still follows today, whether they realize it or not. But the McDonald brothers themselves never turned this idea into a global empire. That required someone else entirely. In 1954, a traveling salesman named Ray Kroc visited the McDonald brothers restaurant. At the time, Kroc sold milkshake mixing machines. He was curious why one single restaurant needed so many of them running at once. What he found genuinely stunned him: a kitchen operating with almost mechanical precision, producing food faster and more consistently than anything he'd seen before. Kroc convinced the brothers to let him franchise their concept nationally. He opened his own first franchise location in Des Plaines, Illinois in 1955. From there, he expanded aggressively. He was obsessed with a single idea: absolute standardization. Every single restaurant needed to look the same, taste the same, and operate the same way. Regardless of location, a customer in one city should get exactly the same experience as a customer 1,000 miles away. This obsession with consistency became McDonald's defining trait. It's part of why the brand scaled globally in a way few competitors ever matched. But there was a serious problem. Franchising alone, on its own, wasn't actually very profitable. Early franchise agreements gave Kroc only a small royalty percentage on each restaurant's food sales. Growth was happening fast, but real profit margins stayed frustratingly thin. That changed in 1956, when Kroc brought on a financial executive named Harry Sonneborn. Sonneborn identified something the entire industry had been missing. Franchisees needed physical real estate to actually operate a restaurant, land, and a building sitting on it. So Sonneborn proposed something genuinely unconventional. Instead of just collecting a royalty on burger sales, McDonald's Corporation itself would buy the land and the building. Franchisees would then lease that property directly from McDonald's. They'd pay rent on top of their existing franchise fees. Sonneborn set up a dedicated entity for this. It was called the Franchise Realty Corporation in 1956. Kroc later described this shift himself during a talk to a group of business students. He asked them a simple question: "What business do you think I'm in?" The students laughed. One shouted back the obvious answer: "Everyone knows you're in the hamburger business." Kroc's response became legendary within the company. "I'm not in the hamburger business. My business, ladies and gentlemen, is real estate." Sonneborn himself put it even more bluntly in a later interview. We are not technically in the food business. We are in the real estate business. The only reason we sell 15-cent hamburgers is because they are the greatest producer of revenue from which our tenants can pay us our rent. That single strategic shift changed absolutely everything about how the company actually made money. Today, McDonald's real estate holdings represent tens of billions of dollars on the company's balance sheet. That accounts for roughly 99% of its total corporate assets. A meaningful share of the company's global revenue still comes directly from rent collected from franchisees, not from burger sales themselves. This explains something you've probably noticed without ever thinking about it consciously. Why virtually every McDonald's location, anywhere in the world, looks and feels remarkably similar. The golden arches, the layout, the general building design. This consistency isn't accidental. And it isn't really about nostalgia either. It's deliberate brand psychology, engineered specifically to build instant customer recognition and trust. A traveler landing in an unfamiliar country, unable to read the local language or menu, can walk into a McDonald's and know almost exactly what to expect before ever stepping inside. That predictability is a genuine competitive advantage, one most competitors have never fully replicated at the same global scale. Now, the fries. Widely considered by many customers to be the single best part of the entire menu. The specific taste and texture people associate with McDonald's fries traces back to a very deliberate supply chain decision. Made decades ago, McDonald's primarily uses a potato variety called russet Burbank, along with a small number of closely related varieties like Ranger Russet, Umatilla Russet, and Shepherdie. These specific potatoes are chosen for their high starch content and low natural sugar levels. Those properties produce that distinctive crispy exterior and fluffy interior. In the restaurant's earliest years, potatoes were prepared completely fresh, in-house, at every single location, peeled, cut, and fried locally, which meant taste and quality could vary noticeably from one restaurant to the next. That changed in 1965. Ray Kroc struck a deal with a businessman named J.R. Simplot, who had pioneered commercial frozen French fry production. Simplot's company began supplying McDonald's with frozen, pre-cut russet Burbank fries, produced to exact, consistent specifications. This single supply chain shift meant something significant. A McDonald's fry in one city could taste essentially identical to a McDonald's fry thousands of miles away. That solved a consistency problem fresh potatoes could never fully guarantee. That relationship between McDonald's and its potato suppliers has continued, in some form, for roughly 60 years now. An extraordinary length for any single supply chain partnership. McDonald's menu itself follows a similarly disciplined philosophy, one the brothers established from the very beginning. Keep the core menu deliberately small and focused, rather than trying to offer something for absolutely everyone. A smaller menu means faster order fulfillment, simpler kitchen operations, dramatically less inventory complexity to manage across tens of thousands of locations simultaneously. Limited time and seasonal menu items get layered on top of that stable core, specifically to create urgency and repeat visits, without ever compromising the speed and consistency of the base menu itself. Then there's the Happy Meal, launched nationally in 1979. It turned out to be one of the more quietly brilliant business decisions in the company's entire history. On the surface, it's simply a smaller portion of food bundled with a toy, aimed at children. Underneath that surface, it functioned as something considerably more strategic. It created lifelong brand familiarity starting from early childhood, well before most of those customers could form independent food preferences of their own. It also turned McDonald's into a genuine distribution partner for major entertainment and toy licensing deals, striking promotional partnerships over the years with brands ranging from Disney to Pokémon. Those partnerships drove massive short-term traffic spikes. They also reinforced McDonald's presence deep within childhood culture, generation after generation. All of these individual pieces eventually converged into something even more powerful in the digital era. The real estate strategy, the standardized branding, the disciplined supply chain, the tightly controlled menu. Data. McDonald's mobile app now handles a significant and rapidly growing share of total orders. across many major markets. Every single order placed through the app generates genuinely valuable data. What customers actually order, when they typically order it, how frequently they visit, which specific promotions actually influence their behavior. That data allows McDonald's to run highly targeted promotions. It lets the company optimize menu pricing by individual region and predict overall demand with far greater precision than ever possible before. Some locations have also begun testing AI-assisted drive-thru ordering systems, designed specifically to speed up order accuracy and reduce wait times even further. Continuing that same relentless focus on speed, the McDonald brothers first established back in 1948. So what is McDonald's really? Once you strip away the surface-level assumptions, McDonald's sells burgers, that much is obviously true. But that's genuinely not the deepest layer of the actual business. At a deeper level, it sells real estate. The steady rental income that comes from owning valuable land in thousands of prime locations worldwide. At an even deeper level than that, it sells something considerably more abstract and more valuable. One of the most efficient, most rigorously standardized business systems ever constructed in the history of modern commerce. A system precise enough that a burger tastes essentially the same whether you order it in Chicago or in Osaka. A system disciplined enough to control cost and quality across a supply chain spanning dozens of countries simultaneously. A system profitable enough to make McDonald's, at its core, one of the largest real estate holding companies on the entire planet. One that simply happens to sell hamburgers as the mechanism that keeps the whole system running. The next time you pass a McDonald's, don't just look at the burgers. Look at the land beneath it, the building, the kitchen, the supply chain, the franchise agreement, the data flowing through the app. Because behind every Big Mac is one of the most quietly profitable business models ever built.